All right, welcome back to another episode of Difficult Podcasters. My name is RandomlyRJ Jr. Kelly, what is the first thought in your mind right this second?
I need better lighting.
Oh, why do you say that? You're gorgeous.
No, thank you. No, I feel like I just,
All right, have
your
you
own
been
worst critic, but
have you been enjoying doing the show? We've been more talkative than usual. Right?
I know. Yeah. I mean, when we first started podcasting together at all, it was always recaps, which recaps are great because I love film and television. I mean, I'm a person that if you take me on a date to a movie, you cannot talk to me. Don't try to touch me. Like, I want to watch the movie. So you can't, it's not like a make out date for me. Like, I really get into it. So I love being able to recap everything. But this new direction that we're doing and being more vocal and opinionated just on different stuff and sharing our experiences, it's just been really fun. So I'm excited to continue to do that, especially with you.
You really do talk about the growth of it all because we've been recapping, of course, the show that we talked about, which was Hulu's Difficult People, which obviously on our YouTube channel and, platform in general, you could hear all those episodes, 28 episode recaps, which is fun. But even that, going a little bit beyond, Kelly, we have been doing this forever. We've been recapping shows since the AfterBuzz days, and a lot of them. So I think this was kind of like so many times we've been on a set together, or in this case, a Zoom-like set. And it was kind of like the next level. I think, honestly, in the 3 new episodes that we've started since we've had our new revamp, we're learning a whole lot more about us.
We definitely are.
3 parts.
So many things, and it's fun. And like I've said before on our past couple episodes, I am in a very reflective stage of life. So you're going to hear a lot of that from me. So if that's kind of not your thing, so sorry. But I'm definitely going back, revisiting stuff, and but in such a good, positive way. I'm feeling very thankful and appreciative these days, which is kind of like a new thing for me.
You mean optimistic and positive?
That's what you're and positive.
What the heck is that about? Oh, goodness. I didn't sign up for that.
I know. I don't know.
Real quick,
don't worry. I'm still good. You still get lots of bitchy stuff.
We got some great topics we're going to talk about, and we'll break that down. Can you break down real quick who we are brought to you by?
We are brought to you by Viridian Row. Viridian Row is a fantastic small business owned by 2 sisters, and it's kind of like a creative space. You can go to their website, viridianrow.com. There's lots of fun t-shirts. Movie quote t-shirts are my favorite, obviously, but they are constantly updating and adding new stuff, and you can also customize. So if there's anything that you see or if you have an idea of your own, you can shoot them an email and you can create with them. And the coolest thing about it is I'm very much a jeans and t-shirt girl, and I hate when I find a really cute t-shirt that I like, but the material or the cut or something is really terrible for me.
So you're coming at Old Navy. I could hear it. I could hear it right there in your
or any, like, if you order something off Amazon and then you get it and it's like a really itchy material, or the cut just doesn't do right, or one wash and it like disintegrates, like that sucks. The greatest thing about Viridian Row is you can pick the style of shirt you want. Like, if you find it, one of my favorite quotes that they have is a John Wick quote, and it's simple. It just says, "It wasn't just a puppy." I love that. I've probably worn it on one of our shows before, but you can get it in a V-neck, on a hoodie, on long sleeve, a crop top, whatever you want, and you can also request the blends that you like. So that's really important for me because, I love to wear shirts and I will wear them until they fall apart. So
Kelly loves a good graphic tee.
Like mine right now, it says 1, 2, 3 into the 4. Do you get it?
I mean, yes. We get it. I love Viridian Row because you know what? They are our day one. You know what I mean? Like, everyone loves anyone who's creating a project, like a musician who's creating music. They always refer back to the people who were with them at the beginning. So we have a lot of really good supporters for sure that are just fans of listening to podcasts. But in terms of our sponsorship, it's always going to be our day one is always going to be Viridian Row, which I think is excellent. So let's get on with our topics because there's tons of them. Right off the bat, it was a couple weeks ago, we were talking about the controversy, as was everybody, with the movie Don't Worry, Darling. So, Kelly, I wanted to ask you, in comparison to the controversy and the buzz, you actually went to go watch the film. What did it leave you saying and thinking?
I did watch it, and at the end of it, I kind of was like, what the was that? But in a very good way, if you can understand that. It was so interesting and so beautifully done, and it just looked great. I really hope that the silliness of all the social media stuff doesn't deter anyone from going to see it, because I think Olivia Wilde did such a great job. It's such a woman powered movie, which is interesting because the story is kind of about putting women in their place and having them support the man, like, because it sets back into the 50s, so it's that mindset. But you see the women having fun and being strong, and not just, you see it's just kind of a different side to the homemaker stuff. But there's a lots of twists and turns, and I thought Florence was amazing, like everyone says. Like, she's such a powerful actress, and I mean, I've seen her in other stuff and she's always been fantastic, but it really was great. And Chris Pine, he doesn't have like a lot of scenes, but he steals them when he's in it, and he definitely has this creepy vibe, but it's also like super hot. So
I mean, I
he
could
just
see it.
he just really has such an amazing screen presence. And I mean, I've heard Harry Styles has kind of been getting some lackluster reviews, but also his character was sort of Stepfordy, so it really didn't, at least in my opinion, I don't feel like he was pushing for that much range, because the character really wasn't. The character in itself was a little bit dull. I mean, not really dull, but it just like Stepford-ish.
Well, it was
So
limited. It was limited to
it
a
was
degree.
limited, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I think he did. I mean, I thought it was fine. I mean, I wouldn't say, oh, whatever, but I feel like it was in line with what the character was supposed to be.
The
But
actual people and the powers that be that make the decisions, which are much different than Twitter, craziness.
mhm.
Do you think they're going to be 100% behind Olivia Wilde as a director? Because that's what, like what you said, you don't want it to be where the shenanigans overshadow the
Right.
film. Do you think that this was good enough where she's in line for something in the future?
I mean, I do. I really do. I think she is a very talented filmmaker. I mean, obviously, this is only, she's very green with it still, but I mean, I thought it's like a great movie. And again, I'm a huge movie buff. I really look at everything from the cinematography to the editing to how everything kind of flows together. And it really was a sight to see. I mean, there were little parts of it that kind of were a little slow for me, but it was intentional because it's more of a psychological thriller and a little bit more like sci-fi-ish, and I'm not a huge fan of that, but I did appreciate the story overall, and I was, kind of like, wow, by the end of it, because there are a couple of things that happen that you don't really expect to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that it was like the female empowerment in the movie, like, really shined through, considering it was like so many men trying to kind of push you down to have your place in their perfect society. Like, your job is to support the man, your job is to do this, which is what they were doing. But they were also partying, having a great time, and, showing that they had, thoughts and, opinions of their own. So.
Well, I can't wait to see it though. It was just a clip, the clip where she gets on the phone and some woman is kind of giving her the information that she doesn't know what's actually going on.
Mhm.
It seems riveting. So you saw the whole
Mhm.
thing. So I'm really
Yeah.
ready to put those pieces together. Just for sake of, like, it comes up a lot. Like, did Harry Styles like rise to the occasion of being a good actor, or was he just kind of a star-studded thing where it just gave the film a lot of attention? What do you think of him?
I thought that he did well enough. I mean, I wouldn't compare him to a Chris Pine and all the stuff that Chris has been in, because it's just different. But Harry is a showman. He can put on a show. Like,
Yeah.
he can. He
And you
can.
have to sell movie tickets too, so
Yeah.
it's that whole thing.
But I thought that the chemistry between the two was it was awesome. It was very powerful. The intimacy that they showed and just their passion for one another really came through. So I mean, he can evoke emotion.
Mhm.
And I think that's really important. I don't think it's like, like when I see Justin Timberlake in a movie, like I'm not a huge, like I've just never been a huge fan of his. I've never really seen anything of
Many
his
of
where
people
I'm
have
just
said
like, where
many
I'm
people
like,
have agreed with that. Yeah.
like Queen Latifah, she goes in a movie and she is an actress.
Oh
She wants to
yes.
make music. She's an artist, but you see that different. Justin Timberlake, I've never really thought that, but that's just my own personal opinion. Harry, I'm still kind of on the fence about it, but I do want to see The Policeman and kind of see how that goes. I haven't seen any other movie that he's been in, so this is the first one for me. But I do want to explore more of his work and see. But he did evoke emotion. I feel like I think he was a character in this movie, and I did feel the passion between their two characters and their marriage, and the love that they had for each other in certain scenes was really intense. So, and it was more than just the sex, because the sex scenes were hot, but it was for me taking it in. And I believe the way that Olivia meant to push it out was, it was more like the connection between these two people and just kind of like the physical power between the two of them, and why this situation is so intense and how it all unfolds in the end. And that's the way it came across to me anyway. So
All right. That's great. Any last words on it?
go see it.
All right. Moving on to something less exciting, I guess, but still we wanted to get your viewpoint. Last week we were talking on the show about talk shows, and Kelly was like, I have not really seen them, but I'm going to come back with the full report. So
Yes.
damn it, let's get that full report.
Okay, so I did watch a couple of episodes of Sherry Shepherd and Jennifer Hudson's new shows. And I have to say, between the two, I am Team Sherry. I thought she was a lot more fun to watch. She has a little bit more of her personality. A lot more of her personality kind of showing through when she's, going through the different, segments of her show. I thought she was funny. She's entertaining. I mean, I don't know that I would go and like watch it every day, but I did appreciate, like I appreciate it. I can understand why she has a show a little bit more so than Jennifer.
J Hud. Yeah.
J
Effie
Hud.
from
I
Dreamgirls.
mean,
Yeah.
she's a very talented young lady. I absolutely think she is, she's a beautiful girl. She's very talented, but she is a little like lackluster when it comes to moving a show along.
Well, good thing she won an Emmy already, because she will never, and I mean never, win an Emmy for the Jennifer Hudson talk show. It's just not going to happen.
But also, this is her first time out, right? So Sherry has a lot more experience. She's done radio stuff. She was on The View. She has, she's a lot more under her belt, and she is a lot more comfortable in front of the camera and just being herself, and that comes through.
I wonder how, I mean, the teams and the talent themselves decide to make these decisions. Obviously, if the opportunity comes to you, you want to do it. But what if you are like somebody like Jennifer Hudson, who this is not your most natural thing? Her interviews, when she asks somebody a question, she asks Magic Johnson, so when did you meet Cookie? Well, I was at a dance in Michigan and she was dropping it low. And instead of having like a cool reaction, Jennifer Hudson goes, in Michigan at a dance, dropping it low. Well, how about that? Like she doesn't talk normal. She just repeats the same thing they say. I just wonder where, or if there's been other celebrities who turned down the opportunity. She's an EGOT. The thing is, like, is this what she wants to be doing? I mean, obviously, when you think of the money and the opportunity, I wonder, does everybody who gets propositioned a great opportunity take it? Or do some of them say, I'm not really, this isn't my lane? And it seems like this would have been a time for her to say, I just got my Tony Award not but 6 minutes ago. Maybe I could stay focused in my music and get back to that and win a Grammy again. And this just didn't seem like the smartest move, if that's my nice critical way of saying it.
Yeah, I don't know. I know, yes, some people have been, offered certain things like this and they do turn it down. I mean, I know of a few people that have, but at the same time, I think I watched an interview that she did with Randy Jackson. She knows Randy. So it's a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more friendly, and more of her personality came out during that interview because she has a personal connection to him. So I think that makes a difference also. But I mean, it is interesting. It wasn't, I mean, I did get pretty bored pretty quick. But I mean, maybe, she'll kind of grow into it a little bit more as she continues to do it and become more comfortable like she was with people that she knew a little bit
Yeah.
more intimately. So
And oh, hold on one second. I think I lost you. Oh, boy, we're talking about Jennifer Hudson's talk show, and they're all like, "Well, we're gonna screw with yours." We almost lost Kellie there for a moment. Kellie, I value your words.
thank you.
We're not trying to get rid of you. We'll move on from that. But yeah, talk shows are interesting. I love them. I've always loved them since a kid. So I always get real excited. Like, who's gonna fill in for James Corden? Like, I just love the whole thing. So I'm not.
And now Trevor Noah, because he's taking off.
Well, he's taking off and he's he's levitating.
Yeah, he's leveling up in a different way.
Yeah, he's leaving the Daily Show, but then there's like the rumors of him dating Dua Lipa. I don't really like to speak on rumors because it just seems so like, are they really or aren't they? But I'm only going to talk about this one because, gosh, I like this. I like this so much.
It's an interesting pairing. I mean, it seems pretty random to me, but I like it. But, they're having fun. Good for them.
I feel like they've already been together. Like, it was like rumor, and I feel like it's already real. Like, I'm ready to go to the wedding. I don't know. I just like them both, She is just so fantastic. Seems to have a great head on her shoulders. She came a little bit younger in the more like the modeling space. So like a lot of it was more fashionable. And you see that on the red carpet with her music, but she's just made consistent, fun dance pop music. And I just am such a fan of hers. And like, yeah, she should totally be hooking up with Trevor Noah. I know he's older than her, maybe, but it just seems to work for me. And I'm not
witty, he's smart, he's funny. That, I'm sure she deals with so many, chauvinistic idiots all the time. It's probably a breath of fresh air to deal with somebody who's a little bit older, but also a little bit more charming and funny and smart.
He seems very sensitive too, right? Like a little sensitive.
No, he does. Yeah, he does. Yeah. He definitely seems a lot more compassionate than some of the people that, kind of come across. So, it's fun. Good for her. Get it,
I like it. I would date both of them. So I'm into this. Let's go. Other dating rumors, you were telling me it's not a rumor or whatever it is, but it was a photograph and everyone makes the biggest deal. I try not to make big deals of Chloe. And this is the actor from 365, you were saying?
Oh, yeah, 365 days. Yeah. I mean, he's hot. So get it, girl. Good for her.
Well, who was he dating? Who was he dating previously?
I have no idea. But they were just hanging out. And, some sources say that it's, they're just friends. Other sources say that it's a new flame. Who knows? Maybe she just had like a fun, flirty night. Who cares? Like, get it.
Yeah, I feel like you could have a level of just hooking up because that's what we do as regular people. We're always hooking up. It's not like every single person you've ever walked into the bedroom with now has to show up on a magazine with you. It could be one of those things. But then he had another rumor that had come up too on Real Housewives, actually. Real Housewives of Dubai. Sarah, her last name starts with an A. I can't recall it at the moment. They were like, "Oh, what's the rumor there?" And she was like, "No, it was just I was his manager or whatever." But Sarah's like one of the most beautiful Real Housewives cast members. So like already in this last like 6 months, there's been 2 rumors of him. I actually kind of didn't even really know who he was because I'm not really that familiar with the movie, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not either, actually.
But he's getting all these rumors with all these beautiful women. I mean, maybe that's not his taste after all. Maybe he's just trying to throw out a decoy, which I would not be mad at that, but we could move on.
Maybe he's just having fun. Maybe everyone's just having fun. Like, why do you have to be in a relationship? Like,
yeah, I hate that we care, but like we're just trying to entertain a little bit. So shut up if you don't like it. But they are cute, I guess. And Chloe, she paid good money for that body. So
yeah,
I mean,
she did.
you might as well, get some mileage out of it. I guess. Yeah. Oh, Chloe. When I look at her, I just say, to be beautiful is to be rich. And where she started and who she's become, it's like
I've always had a soft spot for her because everyone was always so and I am not like I have personal experience with the Kardashians. But I have to say, when it comes to Chloe, I've always kind of had a soft spot for her because I just feel like she was bullied so much like by the media and stuff when she was younger, and everyone always criticized the way that she looked. Always. That was I I hated that for her because I mean I think she's always been an attractive girl and didn't need to go to the extremes that she did. But I mean I get it. You know, she's you know, the society puts these unrealistic expectations on and she had, you know, she has the means to do what she needs to do to feel better about herself. I just hope that she does because she did go through a lot of it from, you know, the television show, social media, like all this stuff. It was always just kind of mean.
Do you think there's a point that like they have to take a little bit of accountability for continuing to put themselves on camera to this magnitude? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
and I wouldn't even say that the first 6 years, first 8 years, first 10 years at E, but to continue to do this and to say like you don't know the real story and you're breaking me as a person. It's like, you know, I think it's very easy to blame the public on everything, and the public is terrible to them. However, and I used to think that we would deal with this in the radio industry, and I know it's just like not the same thing, but I used to love broadcasting so much. I remember having almost like a sick obsession where like I couldn't wait to be back on the air. Almost like me, the regular person, never was valid enough, but me being on the air felt so good. And I remember saying, like, even getting scared. I'm like, Ronnie, I'm never gonna not be in like this intrigued. Like, how can I just be a regular person? There is a part of life where you have to be valuable yourself without any bells and whistles. And to me, on a smaller level, way smaller level, radio was that. So when I look at the Kardashians, I say, I feel like they're just so attracted to it and they keep putting themselves in this turmoil and they have to like pull back from it and just be themselves and be okay with that. I mean, at this point, you have no reason to do it. You don't need more money in terms of generational wealth. At this point, it's not, you know,
but this is what their mother was pushing ever since forever. That was the way that it was. And yeah, I mean, I've got some personal stuff where I'm just like, wow. Like I get it, you know, there's the stage moms and all that, but then there's Kris Jenner. And it's I mean, gotta love her for, you know, she definitely made her kids, you know, millionaires, billionaires, whatever. So I get it. It's also, you know, going through the scrutiny that you go through is the price you pay for that. So everyone has a choice.
I guess for even
they
her,
do, but
I guess for if sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, I agree with you. It's a choice. They continue to choose to do that, but what else are they going to do?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Even her, like, at what point do you like stop becoming like sickly obsessed with this thing? And I'm not saying that their reasons for doing it is because of validation, but like to some degree, it is a validation. Like at some point, you got to pull your whole family back. Say, boy, we got this other opportunity at Hulu, but gosh, we had a great 15 years. We've changed our whole lives. At any time, we could all come back and do a project. Like we're too big,
Why?
because you got to be healthy in a human space.
Clearly, this is not a healthy family.
No. I mean, but you know what?
But it's all the thought processes, right? Because if you look at all the child actors and stuff, like that's all you know how to do. So for them, that's all they've really ever done. They tried to do other little things with like the boutique and all this other stuff. And how, like, where is all that now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the thing that works. So you stick with what works. And I think it's that mentality that you got to keep going and going and going until they don't let you, because eventually they're not going to let you anymore.
But isn't that the mentality for people who have to make a check at the end of the day and have to pay money for the rest of their lives? This family does not need to do that. They could stop today and they can make
money. Shit, with all those kids that they have and all those divorces and all these baby daddies and like all that. I mean, all the different lawsuits and all the different stuff. So
that's what I would be curious to know. Like, is there, it seems like they've made enough where they could even withstand all that stuff. So anyways, I'm just talking about the mental and the psychological. And I think that goes for everybody. That goes for, I think Oprah said it when she left her talk show. She was talking to Jay Leno, and it was during his hiccup with coming off the air, coming back on the air. And she says, I need to learn to be Oprah without this TV show coming through those double doors, or I can't remember how she walked out on set, but that is an adrenaline. It's the same thing with the Kardashians. They need to learn to like sit it down and just be fine with who they are. And how do you not be fine with who you are if you have all that money and you could do new things? I make a point. Maybe
no, I understand, but it just goes to show that at the end of the day, money isn't everything. But when you're striving for something and that has always been your number one goal, then that's just really all you know how to do. And I mean, who knows? who knows? It's a very interesting concept nowadays with just, being able to watch the media evolve and the level of celebrity evolve and all these new influencers and the platforms, and everyone has a new platform to be able to do different things, and everyone can become notable in all these various different ways for basically nothing.
Yeah.
But it's something. So you take what you can and you run with it. And on one side of it, it's fantastic that there's all these new opportunities, but then on the other side of it is, the mental anguish part of it.
Yeah. I
But
just
you just
wore,
have to, like, yeah, I don't know.
I think
But
there's a,
yeah, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you
No, I was gonna say something completely off topic. Just like
roll it. We're done with her.
no, because I think it's funny because it's Halloween and month, right? So it's Halloween month, which we love. It's super spooky. Have you been seeing like my lights like flickering? Like
Yeah.
I see them flickering, but they're not, like I can't see them flickering in here.
And we had that
Like
happen last year too. No, on one of our shows, we had it happen when Kelly said something, and it was our show has been just something
but
special.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like the there's some see.
Well, it's your fault. You're the one who likes Halloween so much. I like it like a normal human being. You like it like a lot, a lot.
I feel like I've got some like spooky stuff happening in this house I'm in
Well,
right now.
and I
Do you
critiqued.
see like it keeps going?
I know, I see it now. Boy, the people on Apple and Spotify and the people who are audibly listening, they're like, "What is going on?"
But
Well,
what's weird, it's like it's
come over to the
brightening.
party on YouTube and Facebook and everything and Instagram, and you'll see. You'll see.
I have a little strobe light. I don't even realize because like the lights that I'm using to badly light my face right now
Mhm.
are not blinking. Like they're not. It has to be like the overhead lighting.
She's
I don't know.
giving
It's just it's funny, but
boingo boingo. It's a dead man's party. It's like
no,
it's
yeah.
time. It is Halloween time.
We're gonna do a ghostly episode one of these days. I promise.
We
Ronnie's gonna
are
hate it.
we're going to talk a little bit more about a couple relationships, and then we're going to get into the big topic today, which is Billy
Mhm.
Eichner's bros. I want to talk about that. Larsa Pippen and her dating, which has already been a story that's been out, but we want to break it down a little. But we've actually spent a little time on all these couples because we just talk. That's what we do. But I want to know, Kelly, what do you think about this one? So it looks like I thought for some reason, I was like, why is Chris Redd not coming back to SNL? SNL just had its premiere, and I was like, why is Chris Redd not there? Like, usually you run that show, a couple of years, and he's pretty big and pretty famous, sure, but you run it to the point where you're like good enough to just like transition into the next level of your career. It seemed a little early. Like I was like, he just kind of got there. But then Keenan, who's been there for the longest of any SNL cast member ever, I guess broke up with his wife, and Chris Redd's dating her. And I saw Keenan and his wife one day the 23rd Street Trader Joe's, and they look so cute. This was like 4 years ago, and now they're no more. But Chris Redd is all up in that. Chris Redd, what's the better decision? Keenan's girl or SNL? Chris Redd, what? That's not the right choice. Go date Khloe Kardashian if you want the fame. It worked for Pete.
A lot of cast members opted out for this new season, so there was a big shakeup over there. So maybe one has nothing to do with the other. Maybe one has absolutely everything to do with the other. Who knows? But
I think it
is a little awkward.
only has to do with that. You think he was going to leave? Chris Redd barely started. He was getting his name out for sure, but I think he hasn't been there more than 4 years.
I don't
Maybe
know.
5. I don't. It seems a little early.
I mean, it seems a little interesting to base your career off of a relationship choice, but who knows?
Well, I'm not saying he based his career.
No. But like, if that has anything to do with it, base is the wrong.
I'm
word,
saying a slip up could have happened.
Yeah.
He knew his best intention was, even if she liked him, he liked her. Things happen. The better intention was, let's not let the public find out about this, and then keep the party going. However, if Keenan was your friend, and Keenan seems to have more clout on that show than anybody, I mean, I assume just for being on the cast the longest, it might have been one of those awkward moments. So maybe Lorne and maybe NBC didn't push him out, but maybe Chris Redd just felt it's not really a comfortable creative space for me. I'd actually like to know. I'm not being judgmental in this one at all. Feel slightly bad for Keenan, but I'm not being judgmental.
But then at the end of the day, you never know what the behind the scenes story is, right? Although it's awkward AF, of course, but it brings up another interesting point. Like, is it cool to date your friend's significant other or someone that you work with there, after the breakup? I mean, what, the usual
Oh,
consensus is no, but who is anyone to choose who anyone loves?
and
Like,
let me take it off Chris Red for a moment, and even Keenan. Maybe
mhm,
Keenan, they broke up, and I don't know where that,
right.
was it a 50-50 split? What, we don't know the story of her. We don't know much about her. However, what if she got scorned by the situation and said, "Oh, I'll show you, Keenan, who you close with on the cast," and she just kept, making the googly eyes, and then they get off work late, and let's get a bite turns into a drink, and things happen in New York City, baby. I
I
mean,
mean, it just reminds me of like those Stay Toxic TikToks. Have you
oh
seen
no,
those?
no, no, no. You have, you showed me, yeah.
It's a whole series. They're so ridiculous, but they're funny. It's like don't date his friend, like date his new girlfriend's brother, and be like, "I'll see you in the holidays, babe." Stay Toxic.
It seems like it's more work for him to do this. It seems like this is more challenging to like date her than the plethora of women who are available to him.
I don't know, but it also could be, she knows the schedule. She knows the trials and tribulations of the business and like all that stuff. So sometimes it's kind of nice to, hang out with somebody that gets what you're going through, maybe, and that could be attractive. I don't know.
So
Who
maybe
knows?
Keenan's the one that did a
Maybe
wrongdoing.
Keenan's just the jerk in all of it. Who
Yeah,
knows?
maybe
Or
Keenan
maybe not.
crossed Chris in some way, and Keenan also crossed the ex-wife, and then all of a sudden they were like talking, they were bonding over it, and well, we'll show him.
I mean, maybe
And
who
so
knows? And
now
we're
every
totally just talking shit at this point. Like we don't know.
now every Saturday night they put it on NBC, and they're eating pizza and screwing, and Keenan's performance will go down because he's like, I wonder what Chris and my ex are doing.
Oh
Oh,
my
it's so sad.
god.
I hope it's not a bad story. So we'll move on. We made jokes, but I hope it's nice, even though it doesn't feel like it is, because
It's totally awkward either way.
yeah. Real quick, this has been one that's been in the news sort of for a little while. Nia
Yeah.
Long and her basketball coach, ex,
Fiance of
well,
7
fiance. I was gonna call
years.
him ex as if they broke up, but we don't know if they broke up.
Oh, well, I hope so, but 7 years. And she just moved to Boston to be with him. That sucks.
Yeah, I guess that's all we got on it. Is that, I mean, no, not that we have opinions for sure. We just don't
Yeah.
need the show to be 10 hours long. And I know Kelly
Right.
usually has strong opinions on it, but I think your bigger takeaway is just that they finally made the move to live together, and then all of this behind the scenes stuff happened in terms of like who he was dating and are they
Well, he had
protecting.
an affair. Yeah. He had an affair with a co-worker, someone
Mhm.
that also, I think, believe was married that worked for the Celtics.
Yeah, well,
And
the woman was, I'm sure there's others, but was
mhm.
associated with somebody in like a position of power. So it's also a little protecting of the organization too.
Yeah. So
Like
he
the
was he was suspended and has done all the apologies and whatever. But what's interesting about this breakup is I saw one of my Facebook friends who's also an actor. He had a whole opinion about this particular relationship and was more flipping it around to, Nia has this reputation in Hollywood where she's can be difficult and she can be kind of a bitch and blah blah blah. So kind of asking the question, is it maybe that's what she gets for being horrible? But I have a real problem with that because if that's the case, they've been engaged for 7 years. He knows her at this point. If he doesn't like that, break up. Why do you have to cheat? If no matter what she is, if those things are true, and maybe she was a little difficult, maybe she's this, maybe she's that, does she still deserve this? No. Break up.
Well, first of all, your friend was a male.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people aren't going to want to hear a man mansplaining
I mean, that's a
that
whole different. That's a whole.
that it must be Nia's fault. You mean the one that didn't cheat? Okay.
Yeah, no, but he didn't phrase it that way. It was more like, can we look at it from another side of it? Because what if he had been dealing with a lot of these, pressures and this bad attitude and like all of these things? Could it be, hey, wait a minute, do we automatically have to jump to the conclusion that he's just a jerk? Well, I objectively and diplomatically, I can look at that. I don't necessarily like that, because at the end of the day, if she's a bitch, he's a dick, like whatever, break up. You don't have to humiliate someone else, and you don't have to betray someone else that way, that you share a child with, you've been sharing a life with, you're doing all of these big life decisions with. You were messing around before she moved there. Like, why make her go through all of that if she's all these things that drove you to do that?
So
that just doesn't make sense to me. Just break up.
Do you think it's like the way that we were talking about? You were real mad at some of the other topics, like the Adam Levine topic, and then all of this. I mean, could it just be that it has nothing to do with anything other than he just needed to knock his socks off?
It probably had nothing to do with her. Nia doesn't live in Boston. He needs attention because men, you know, people, I'm not even just going to say men, because people in general, sometimes you just need attention. Somebody pays a little bit extra attention to you. Maybe she was busy and he didn't get this attention. Whatever. At the end of the day, it's your own fault. You make your own choices. You do your own shit. If
Kellie,
your relationship sucks, break up.
Sadly, I think we're going more into what I've been saying on some of these episodes, and I'm not saying I would do it or I'd want to do it. I want to be monogamous also, in terms of dating. However, we've got to be a little more open to open relationships, just because a lot of them aren't very mental at all. Now, if they're mental, that would really make me distraught. But I don't know. I said it before. I don't know that if I was married, I would feel like I have to suddenly get a divorce because of cheating, because cheating isn't really what bugs me as much. I mean, I'm a man, so things are just a little different in my mind, I suppose. But it's like cheating isn't what bugs me as much. The secrecy and all that stuff. So what really became challenging in this one was the humiliation. Yes. The fact that like this woman was on the organization and like helped book her new apartment and just all of that kind of stuff feels really gross to me. The cheating I can get over. I think I could get over.
Well,
can you?
I feel like being in a long-term relationship that's significant, where you're, there's a lot that you go through. The joining of two lives cannot be easy. I feel like I could probably overcome somebody just having sex with somebody else, but I don't think I could get over someone actually having an emotional relationship with someone else, because that's deeper, that's different. Sex is just sex. It's kind of like just like the physicality of it. Okay, like whatever, it could have been anybody. But if you're having an emotional relationship with someone where you're confiding in them and you're actually, having deep conversations and you're really getting to know them, that's a whole different deal.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I just feel like there's different depths to it. But at the end of the day, either way, he had a full-on affair with someone else. He should have just ended the engagement, broken up, like whatever. Like, I don't understand why people have to overlap shit.
Because they want your cake and eating it too.
But everybody gets caught. Like,
everybody gets caught. You're too logical when you say that. You're like, you're making it like he's gonna say, "Oh well, I have this great life. I'm the coach. He's a very good-looking guy. I've got Nia on with me, but like at the same time, I'm gonna go cheat. Let me just break it off with her." Like that's not like people can't move in that logic. They want to do it in the dark, keep it right. Unheard of, unseen.
Well, and then he lost his fiance, he loses his job, he loses stupid. Don't be stupid. Like, think
okay, but is it grounds for like losing your job though? Like, I mean, that his if it was somebody from the organization's wife, like a higher up's wife, then in that case it could be complex.
Right.
But I'm saying like if somebody cheats, that's not really terms for losing your job. I mean, I guess he didn't lose his job. He just got suspended. Listen, we don't talk about basketball on this podcast. It's just so confusing to me. It's just so nuts. Any last thoughts on this?
No, it's just, I feel for her, and I hope that it works out in whichever way that she wants it to. And, women independent, go-getting women usually get that hard up. Oh, you have to be a bitch, so it's obviously your fault. And I just really hope that she doesn't really have to deal with that too much, because regardless if she is or she isn't, she still didn't deserve that.
Yeah, just communicate what it is. Maybe she does know. Maybe she did know he was like on the side hooking up with this one and that one, and they still made it work long distance. It's the humiliation that I think really got her.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we don't know. We don't even know how maybe she stays with him. We never know. It's not our business, really.
If they can work it out and they can fix it, then I hope that they can.
Well, in the background, I hear the phone. I think Nia's calling you now, so I guess we got to move on. Nia, it's okay. We're supporting you, and Kellie was just ripping him a new one. Let it be, Nia. Please stop. All right. After all that talking, and we talk. A lot of topics get Kellie hot and bothered. Virtually everything gets me hot and bothered. But quickly, well, I guess not quickly. I guess we owe a lot of, not owe, but want to spend a little bit of time on which feels like this monumental Billy Eichner having a gay romantic comedy. Even the words gay rom-com being a thing, a hashtag, seems so odd in the movie Bros. Kellie, it feels like an interesting experience for us because our very podcast, Difficult Podcasters, was sort of, a funny take on Hulu's Difficult People, which we recapped every episode. So we've been really supportive of this type of humor and Billy Eichner, what he did on Difficult People. But in my head, I said, wow, a theatrical release. This is like next level,
Absolutely, from a major studio. Yeah.
A major studio, people fell in love with him on YouTube or, Funny or Die or whatever it was in terms of Billy on the Streets. But then the movie was huge and his career's been huge. But to me, this felt like such a monumental thing. Never has there been something that felt so big, but yet I'm not a part of it whatsoever. But why am I so freaking emotional about it?
Because it's a very emotional thing. I mean, me as a straight female that really, this doesn't really relate to me in the way that a lot of the movies I normally watch do. But the significance of it is so huge because it's just proving that the change, the societal change and the worldwide acceptance that we're moving toward, that everyone's story deserves to be told. Everyone's. It doesn't always just have to be a heterosexual relationship at the forefront or at the core of any story. That no matter what your beliefs are, your religious beliefs or what, your sexual orientation or anything like that, everyone deserves to have their story told. And I love that this is in theaters in such a big way and only in theaters, which is a big thing nowadays.
Yeah, luckily it's only in theaters because I probably would have watched it a second time already. I actually plan to go back to the theater and watch it again. It's just such a, like I said, I feel like I'm such a talker every episode, and yet here, something that I would be very into topical wise, I'm like, I can't get the words out based on like a little bit of an emotion.
But that's how powerful that this is for you. And I love that. When something can stump you in that way, you know that it's really evoked a certain emotion in you. And this is it's such a great thing. And I want, talk to me, tell me about it. How did it make you feel going in there and watching this whole story unfold?
I love your Barbara Walters interviews. Diane Sawyer, talk to me. I
want to make you cry. Tell me about it.
But what a sap I am. I'm just the viewer and I'm making it all about me. But it
is. I want to know your experience. Tell me.
I watched this with a family member and they were like, well, damn, he's a podcaster. He's grumpy. He's gay. Like everything. There was he was rich and I'm not rich, but there was a lot of things that just, I'm like, oh my God, and he was in his 40s. And that to me was even important because you and I always talk about like everything is geared towards, 25-year-olds or whatever. Mm-hmm. So even when we saw Neil Patrick Harris do Uncoupled on Netflix, that was even big because it's absolutely. Let's start giving these stories of people in our age bracket. Kellie and I, though we look so young, we're dipping and doing in our 40s. So even that made a lot of sense. I'll go with the negative first. The only negative thing is that I wish more people would have showed up, for the movie in the theatrical release, because it is an important thing. It's not something you could just sit on. It was an important weekend. Mm-hmm. And I wish more people showed up. And I know that the girls showed up, the gays showed up. Yes. And the allies showed up and all that. But I just wish there was somewhere in the people who don't get this lifestyle in the world and this type of world, or even New York City for that matter. Mm-hmm. I wish the people in these, red states or whatever, took it upon themselves to say, let me just try it. Let me just see if, what this is. Obviously, it's a big theatrical release, so it's going to have mass appeal. It clearly wasn't a movie just made for the gay community, the
Right.
LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
It was made for everybody. And it was a little bit of like those differences, how we're so the same and we're so different. Like it was actually perfect in that way.
Mhm.
So that's the part that like disappoints me a little bit. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to refer to box office numbers or nothing. I just feel like, wow, what a moment this could have been had the box office numbers been huge. And I feel a little bit as a viewer like
Mhm.
the wind let out of the sail. Is that the
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I'm like,
I
oh,
understand, yeah, what you're
here
saying.
we get the
But
theatrical release.
also,
Yeah.
don't take it too much to heart, even though I understand how difficult that is. It's something new. It's something new for our society as a whole, and it's such a great first step in the right direction, which is unfortunate that it's taken us this long to even do that, but here we are. And there's been a lot of really great reviews, which are hard to come by. I mean, the New York Times, like all of these really reputable media outlets that are just praising the story and talking about how you can't even see sexual orientation in it, that it is a story that you root for, characters that you root for, a love story you want to see. And I feel like conversation within itself is so important, and hopefully that the viewers and the numbers will follow that.
One thing I thought was really great was Luke McFarlane was the other lead.
And I
Um,
adore
you,
him.
he's been in every Hallmark
I
movie.
and I'm a Hallmark nut. I
You
love him.
are. The two things that don't make sense about Kelly, because she's a rough one. But you love Halloween and you love Christmas. Like you're very, sometimes like Kelly's tough as shit, but you're very soft too.
Yeah.
You have range.
Mhm.
So Luke McFarlane is in it, and it's his character was actually very instrumental, I thought, in the movie because it did show how some guys, though they're out, for many years, there's no problem with it, but there's a couple things that he's rigid and tied into within like how you grow up and masculinity and how you act and react around your family. I mean, there's a scene where he sadly tells Billy Eichner's character to kind of tone it down. That's like the last thing you want to hear,
Right.
because then you start saying, who's to say I've even turned it up, bitch? I'm gonna start getting sassy if that's what you want, and
Right.
I felt so much of that, you know what I mean? It's this constant like, looking in the mirror, knowing and loving who you are. Like I have no days in my life ever. I think I won the lottery. Being a gay man is the lottery. However, we've won the lottery in a heteronormative world. And so
Mhm.
much of the movie I felt like gave that. They had this really beautiful scene. And I won't say like all of the things because you want to, of course, watch it. But one of the beautiful scenes is just talking about assessing confidence and what that really means. And sometimes your confidence is based on almost like a last resort because you've stopped believing in anyone else. You have to believe in yourself only. And it's a scene that's so beautiful. It's in Provincetown, and it's just the two of them on the beach, and it's really, really cute. And when I tell you that we talk about romantic comedies all the time here, you
Yeah.
and I have done a recap on My Best Friend's Wedding. Like we're the rom-com, recappers for the most part. We love it. And I always say, Kelly, you've heard this before, romance I like, but I love flirty energy. And there were
Oh
some
yeah.
parts in this movie that were very that. And I thought it was also good education too for like, I went with the family member, like I said, who, could now see all the things, but still it'd be in a funny way. Was there four naked bodies, hooking up? Yes, but there was also the jokes that go behind that, or
Mhm.
why even that is, the terms of like, I sometimes we talk, gay men will talk more openly sexually sometimes, but that's based on the lifestyle that you're given, in
Right.
my age bracket. Yes, as a kid, you weren't going to grow up and say, you could get married. That wasn't a thing that was even available. So you start navigating in the ways that are available, and sometimes owning your sexual identity and having pride in that does make a lot of sense. But I just thought it was done funny because a lot of the scenes were as awkward as I guess like Judd Apatow and Nicholas Stoller were a part of this film, and they've done all those really funny rom-coms
Yeah.
already. And so you think
Mhm.
about it, like those movies, like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, they've had all the nasty, like, oops, there's a dick in the screen, like, so why couldn't we see that type of stuff with this movie? And Billy did a really good job at making it funny. It's funny, I couldn't talk about it at the beginning. Like I was saying, I was really like speechless, but
Mhm.
now I'm kind of like really into it. I thought it was another good aspect is that they were able to break down because the character, he was working for an organization for doing a museum, for an LGBTQ museum. And what was great about that, and I guess people don't realize this, within the community, there's so much like not infighting, but just like differences. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, who I saw the movie with reacted as like, oh wow, even within there's just all of these different, you know, bits of understanding that everyone's trying to have, you know, hey, please understand my part of it, or I didn't realize that about you. And so it's not just a wash off like LGBTQ. They're all different within, and it showed that gay guys, you know, are not a monolith. Same with everything, you know, the G, the B, the T, the Q, the I, the A, you know, nobody's a monolith. And I just thought that was so great. It made me really happy. Did
But
not
did you
have as
feel? Can I ask a question real quick? Sorry, I don't want to mess.
please,
I don't want to mess with your flow. But
please.
did you feel that when you were watching it that you were watching something similar to a This Is 40 or My Best Friend's Wedding? Or I mean, did you feel it had all the elements that you normally see in a rom-com? Or I mean, could you really tell a difference? Like if you weren't focused on it being like a gay rom-com, would it matter? Or would it just have been like a great romantic comedy?
Well, that's a great thing is for me, it didn't feel like a gay rom-com because it
Mm-hmm.
literally is stuff that I will go through in life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's only being in the audience and seeing who's, you know, you never know who you're sitting next to, you know,
Right.
and you know, the people that are watching it, you're wondering like how much do they know about, you know, little bits of our story. um but for them, that's a great education, you know. And I know it sounds weird to
Mm-hmm.
be like educating the straights, but it was done in a way by them making it LGBTQ museum as his, it wasn't his job, but it was well, I guess it was like his job.
Mm-hmm.
It offered a lot of knowledge, which, you know, I know all of that knowledge. You as an ally know all that knowledge, but not the person next door who's like, you know, had a hiccup over this type of stuff for years and years and years. They now could look at it as like, oh wow, okay, so they're not the same, but they're not that different either. Like, and
Yeah.
that's all you really wanted. And the cast was really great. T.S. Madison was in it. Miss Lawrence, who's one of my favorites. Miss Lawrence was fantastic in a TV show on Fox called Star. I would love to see Miss Lawrence go on and on. Though Miss Lawrence and T.S. Madison had smaller roles, still amazing. Luke
Mm-hmm.
McFarlane, though, can we just talk about
I
how
mean,
beautiful?
he is a beautiful man.
Mhm,
I
mhm,
adore
mhm,
him,
mhm, mhm.
and he is such a scene stealer. Like he just is. He's got such a charming way about like his presence, and I love him. Like I've seen every single Hallmark movie he's ever been in, and I'm super excited to see this. I'm bummed I didn't get to make it out yesterday, but I really it's I've got tickets for today, so I'm excited to see it.
And as I said, it's a big challenge because how do you do a movie that suffices the community? Because, you know, the community, like, you want it to be completely represented the best that it can, but it can't represent everybody.
No,
So, you know, you
yeah.
have these shady bitches that are going online and are like, oh, what does he think, you know, as if he's supposed to represent every single person. He did the best that he could. And I mean, I couldn't imagine having to do a piece of work um where your like target demographic, let's say like in radio, like we've done
Mhm.
before, or even in podcasting, our target demographic is this, but then wait, you have to also worry about this audience too. That is not an easy thing. And he
No.
managed to weave it really together. But there are some cute scenes that you would be like, oh my god, flirty energy is amazing. You won't stop looking at Luke McFarlane's chest, because I mean it was like chiseled to all the high heaven. And his character was a little like tough to grasp at the beginning, because his character was the one who did what we do. I don't know if you do this, but it's easier to disengage with something real and just go
Oh,
run over
absolutely.
to this other one, or in his case, there's a three-way going on over here, and just kind of like never be present. And what's good is Billy Eichner's character, Bobby, called him out on it. He's like, so you went to go, I don't know if he said fuck, you went to go fuck them, but when you felt lonely and you were away from all of the excitement, you called me. So you had a physical, emotional connection with me, but you don't want to like really experience and explore that. And I just was like really into it. I was like, this is what I've done. This is what people have done to me, where I'm just
Mhm.
like, I thought we got along great, but then, you know, no one wants to really feel anything. And as a
Yeah. No,
gay,
I can relate to that for sure. And I'm glad that it's just so exciting from my point of view to know that this exists, especially for something, like I would love to, I'm trying to get my mom to go see this with me because like I love my mom, but my mom is very Catholic. So there's a lot of the stuff that she has a hard time with. And I think this is but one thing that we've always kind of bonded over is movies. And I think this can show her a different side of what, she deems to be appropriate and whatnot. And, and don't get me wrong, like by any means, my mom is like, non-inclusive and is, horrible to people or anything like that. But she does have her kind of like, way, well,
Well,
the Bible says
generationally,
this and like all
yeah,
that. Right. But,
yeah,
she's always open to being educated about things. And I love that this is something I can show her, and we can, and it'll push the limit and be in such a funny way where she'd just be like, oh, I can't believe you had me watch that stuff. These guys are doing what? But I feel like she would be receptive to that. And I think that it's just such a great thing and such a good step forward. And I loved watching Billy and the way that the character was developed on Difficult People, because you didn't really deal with a gay straight thing. Like, they were just people.
yeah. It was just his
You didn't
nerves.
divide the world.
It was his nerves on dating the guy. Like, am I doing the right move? Am I this, that? They didn't spend time on like, oh, he's, wow, you came out. Like, that wasn't even an issue. This was like post all that, and that's the beautiful part of life.
That's
when I talk to you,
that I love so much about it. Sorry, that's what I love so much about it, is that it doesn't divide the world. And in a lot of movies that you see, you've got like the token, this person, or the token that person. And we talked about this when we were able to interview Julie about the series, that I appreciated so much, just from my perspective, on how they were able to just make this a world where everyone just was. And it's the same that Schitt's Creek was able to do. Like, you didn't single out, like, there's a different world for these people, there's a different world for that people. It's just one world. And I love that. So I'm excited to see, and I'm sure that translates into this movie. You can speak better to that since you've already seen it, but
it's like, it's better than it gets credit for. And again, if any shady queens out here want to be like, oh, it didn't represent this and that, and I know progress is there, but we could, we'd love to have more progress. I get all that. I would love to see Miss Lawrence in the lead character for sure. But it's still a great step, and it was still so funny, and it was still giving a lot to me. I guess I felt like the movie was made for me. I'm like,
well, it was. That's the thing.
I've lived in New York. I'm in my 40s. I've been in that situation.
It's the way I think like Sex and the City was made for me, like the original.
Right,
let's not even talk about it just like that. But the original, like the series, the way that the series goes and all that, because you look at yourself and you're able to see such similarities. I mean, I look at a lot of characters, and that is where my genuine love for filmmaking and storytelling comes from, is because it's a way to get lost in these worlds and help therapeutically go through emotions that I go through, and seeing different perspectives and not feeling so alone with it. So I can only imagine like how amazing this was for you, for, the first time to see a major motion picture about something that you can absolutely 100% personally relate to.
And there's so many things that have been out before, but they're all, not on the scale of a major studio film.
The main thing. You have the side stories, and you have, like the dealing with it in different ways. Like, there was the Object of My Affection, where it was a different kind of relationship, like the straight person trying to deal with the gay person, like all that. So these stories have somewhat been told a bit, but this is just on such a different level and so much more in depth for it. That's just what makes it so special.
Did we already talk about Object of My Affection on this podcast yet?
No,
how I was telling you, but I told you though, we texted about it. I thought, where I was saying how, or on the phone, I was saying how when I was growing up, this was years before I could get any mental clarity on all this. But seeing Object of My Affection in that kissing scene, I painted in my head that it was this big, first of all, long kiss, and like it felt like they walked longer too. Like it was like a longer. It was just literally down from the brownstone, I think, or whatever the case. But it felt more epic. And it was. Then I watched it just recently. I was like, oh, that was the daintiest little kiss. They barely touched. It would give them a high five is more intimate. But what is interesting about that is when you are assessing and finding yourself, you assess. There's a joke that is about. We'll say. We'll date for 3 months and then we'll assess later. But when you're assessing yourself, and that's all you can grab from, and you got to make a decision right there in the Paul Rudd character, if this is a yes or no, if this is what your life is about. There's so little, there's not even much dialogue, other than, he was openly gay, Paul Rudd's character in that movie, but there wasn't a lot of dialogue to you being a younger teenager and saying, is this maybe what I'll is this my life when I grow up?
Right.
So that's why this movie made a lot of sense. Like they did some really good things in terms of, and I don't want to give all the movie away. One of the things and why I want to see it again, I'll probably go see it on Wednesday, Kelly, is because, oh my God, I get so happy about the movie, is I watched too many interviews. So I felt like a couple things were going on. I felt like I knew a lot of what was going on, a lot of teases. And I knew we were going to podcast immediately about this. And it was going to be a big, talking point because we love Billy Eichner and difficult people. And it's your kind of humor for sure. And so I was like, something would happen. I'm like, I got to tell Kelly this. And it's like, I want to go back and watch it where I'm just like in the movie by myself. And truth be told, I know this sounds shady. Tell me if you think it sounds shady. I was with a family member who was lovely, but support is one thing, but to see stuff and hear stuff and, it's a R-rated movie. Right. I did feel parts of like, don't talk to me during the movie.
I'm telling you, my favorite thing to do is go to movies by myself. And every time I go with someone else, I always regret it like instantly.
And it wasn't personal.
Unless I'm going to movies with you or with someone I know just is like really into it as much as I am, great. But if not, my favorite thing to do on a Saturday morning is usually like when I had this time on Saturdays was I would go to the very first showing at the AMC in Burbank, and it would be like the 10 a.m. show that I would go to by myself, and I would be one of like 3 people in the movie theater, and it was my favorite thing. And I would just see whatever movie I wanted, and I'd have my horrible like concession stand snacks, and it was like the best experience. And that's what I'm going to do tonight, to go see this movie by myself. But I love that there's that opportunity. And I'm so excited for everyone involved in this movie because it's, we talk about so many things and, with the Emmys and the Oscars and all of this, and we celebrate, so many different things. And hopefully the more that this gets talked about and, and it's just one weekend, and it's really sad that so much, pressure is put on opening weekend, but hopefully this will just become one of those, cult classics that everyone will always like quote and talk about. And, we'll have to get Rating Row to do some quote shirts about it. And, just really become these beloved characters that, are like, the Clueless characters and all these other characters that we quote and we mention all the time. Like, that's what I'm hoping and pushing for this movie is that we can, it just gets in the norm of that rotation of all these cult classics that we, constantly talk about. And then more and more people will see it.
It very well may be like a slow burn, but I think enough people liked it. Even doing our podcast, I don't get shy over any of the shit we do. However, talking about this, putting my public opinion on this movie, knowing it could be torn up and down, sideways, left and right, whether people love it or hate it. I just was like, I was feeling very like, okay, Kelly and I got to get this right in terms of, and we're not recapping it. I'm not giving a review. I'm not giving it a grade or anything like that. I'm just saying I watched it once. And I wanted to talk to Kelly the whole time. And, did you see that? But I'm going to see it again because I want like just another sit through process. I mean, the scenes were so cute. And, when I was in New York City, like all my straight friends, all my roommates happened to be straight guys, but we had like the greatest of conversations and they would always trip out over. And in fact, I should encourage them to go watch this. I would always encourage them or not encourage them, but I would tell them some of the nuances of gay guys and how, just even how we have sex, it's different, and there was just like some really cute shit that just reminded me of just, wow, like people could kind of see, that it's not just the nasty, the the hooking up. It is a bit romantic, even if it's like sometimes I used to say this, Kelly, I wish I could cuddle without having sex. Like I only have the sex for the sake of when we're done. We could cuddle and talk for like the whole afternoon or the evening. Like that's my shit. I love that. And there was just this really cute part where they were cuddling and just talking. And I know I'm such a wuss. I get it. Are you laughing at me?
No, I'm laughing because I'm the opposite. Like I have sex, I don't have to cuddle.
Yeah. See, Kelly got the bigger dick than me every fucking episode. And this is why our show works. But no, I was a softie with that. I was like feeling the emotion.
That's
when you roll over and either you put him on your shoulder, on your chest, or you do this, do that to him, and just having those like epic conversations. Now, sometimes those conversations are good, and then you walk out the door and you never see him again. Either that happens too. But it left me with a lot of optimism because the character was grumpy. Bobby was grumpy, and he was in his 40s. I was like, I can relate. I wasn't the character by no means, but there was a lot of I
Yeah.
podcast. I'm never
There's a
happy
lot of
per se.
parallels. Lots of
Yeah,
parallels
and he was
going on.
really loving, which is how I am too. So I just encourage everyone to see it, give it a shot. It's a hard task. I mean, I guess what Billy Eichner was saying was that this Nicholas Stoller brought it to him like, hey, we want to do something, and Billy was responsible for writing something that made sense. And I just can't imagine that task. You're gonna make a movie that's gonna make the gay LGBTQ community happy because we're pretty strict on our representation. Like we want it to be good. We don't and there was a little bit of that sassiness in the movie where it's like I'm gonna do a rom-com so the straight guys could feel happy. Like why do we care about them? And that's kind of like how you sometimes feel because you have to always defend your community. And so the way he managed to push and pull that, and I would like to think that people saw it who aren't really familiar with. I mean, it's not a big deal. That's what's crazy. But I guess in some small cities it is. So there's joy and pain with my review here, but I liked it, and I think you would like it, and I think it is just there was a When Harry Met Sally similarity to like how things were with a nice straight couple, and then how things are with the gay guys, and one guy's showing his asshole. Like it was just it was just very, very. I mean, he was taking a photo. He was taking a photo. Wasn't that deep, but not that deep. Kelly, I'm running out of words. I think that's it for our bros recap, but I hope that people go see it. And I hope that honestly, I always say you could comment on our podcast or whatever, but just we're doing our best here. This one really choked me up a little bit. I really caught emotions. And by the way, if there is a second sequel, we should be in it for sure. Now I know we joked about it, but he's a podcaster in the movie. I'm sure in the movie he needs a nemesis, like another grumpy 40-year-old. I'm the one.
I mean, let's float the idea now, while they're thinking of
but it was good. It was good for progress. Like you said, there's going to be a movie with Jim Parsons coming out in December. And that's another, gay love story. So it might be the beginning of a lot of things. It just might take some time.
Even doing it. So, I mean, they're really kind of like a lot of people are getting hip to the inclusivity. And the thing is it shouldn't even be a thing. Like it really
I want you to see it, and then we'll come back maybe another episode. There was a little thing of like, well, at what age do you teach, and not, because one side, Florida, they get really into, oh, this means this and an agenda. But at what age do you kind of educate, the kids that people are just different, not even like an agenda. And that part of the movie was done really, really well because nobody has a same answer. Everyone feels different things. Some people think, it should never be taught. But then other people are like, well, the reason these kids are getting bullied and are committing suicide is because there's such an open society for, calling them the F word and it's still holding weight, So it wasn't just funny. It was also like some good stuff up in there if you really paid attention. So I was into it. Bros, the movie, theatrical release. It's so crazy to even say that, to have a gay rom-com, but Billy Eichner hit a home run with this. I hope he's happy. Obviously, you want the numbers to be bigger, but I hope he's happy with the work that he did. And it's Billy Eichner. His career has not stalled at all. So, hopefully this gets its due, but if it doesn't, hopefully something else, he navigates into something that's really great because we love watching his work. Yeah.
And like I said, I hope, I think it's going to be one of those that, definitely continues to grow and the audience continues to grow for it, like as time goes on. So I wouldn't be too worried about it, but I'm definitely excited to see it. Everyone needs to go see it.
And if there is a sequel, I'm giving myself another job, Kelly. Yeah. I want you and I to be responsible for casting because I want to cast. I want to cast the next lead. I want to cast who else
is our casting wish list and like what our the story concept would be.
Yeah, we'll revisit this on our Patreon that we don't have. But this was fun.
We're just making up all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Do you want to do one more topic?
Well, I want to talk about that because this and it goes into the whole relationships and all this. We've been talking about bros. Let's talk about some babes, some older babes that are kicking it with some youngins.
She's
That
48 years old, and you're right. The name of our episode today is Bros and Babes because we're talking about Billy Eichner's Bros movie, and we named it Babes because Larsa Pippen, of course, is a gorgeous woman. We're not
beautiful.
we're not using the word babes as a negative at all. But my question to you, and the reason we also brought this up, and we're wrapping up the show here in a second, is I've noticed that Kellie has really come alive when we talk about relationships. You would see our last couple of
Very
episodes
opinionated about
as
this.
we've now had a revamp with our show. All of a sudden, like, Kellie has really big opinions on this, and so I wanted to know what you think. We're not doing the. You could go to another podcast for the play-by-play, up to date, this, and this. We're just generally talking about the topic. Larsa Pippen, who is a single lady. She's not with Scottie Pippen anymore. The divorce is final. It was reported for a little while. We didn't jump on that, but now it's a confirmed reported, which still sounds reported to me. But anyways, that she's dating Michael Jordan's son. So he's dramatically younger than her, and of course I think the Michael Jordan documentary that had come out, I think it kind of alluded to Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen sort of having a little bit of
they just really didn't like each other too much, apparently.
Yeah.
So through the years, and they just weren't really friends, and they had some beef or whatever. So of course that's turning into is it cool for her to kind of go over to the other side and whatever. And for me, hey, you don't live my life. I can date whoever I choose. And
that's your perspective.
That's my perspective, is that it's as simple as, you don't have to live my life. If you don't like it, don't look. Because everyone deserves to explore whatever it is and whomever it is they choose to explore. And it has nothing to do with the two of them. So who cares?
I rarely ask for people to like jump in the comments and give your opinion, but the reason I'm doing that is because there's so many different sides of this, Kellie. My side of it is, this is what I'm going to be Team Larsa in this, but I'm also going to tell you something some guys have said, about it. And then I want to know your opinion too. So my side of it is, Larsa to me is gorgeous.
Oh, for
and sure. Everyone knows that. However, everybody has been ripping her for years, it feels like. And I think that sometimes
haters,
that is a reflection on what you think good looking people, you somehow, it's a projection. You feel like they have to suffer in some way, or you try to find something wrong with them. Is she gorgeous? Is she so beautiful that you can maybe make the sentence like, oh, she's so full of herself, and then maybe try to attack her motherhood, maybe. But she's a good mother. She raised 4 kids. She was with Scottie Pippen. She was around 20 years old or whatever the case. And she was with him for 20 years or 20 plus years of marriage and tried to make that work. When that woman gets divorced, and same thing with Scottie, what do you want her to do? Do you want her to sit at home and be an old maid now? Like, I think, and I don't know if I'm making my point clear, but I'm saying it, to me, the projection of, you can't take a hot woman around you because suddenly you think she's tied into promiscuous behavior. She's tied into
it's society's double standard. Because I guarantee if he was dating, and he very well may be, I don't follow his dating life, but if he's dating a younger woman, the scrutiny is not the same. That's expected, because that's usually what happens. But when you flip it and you put a woman as someone, then she's predatory, she's just full of herself, she's doing it as a get back, and all the things you want to go through, which is so unfair for women. And a lot of the times it's women that are bashing these other women. Women bash women a lot harder sometimes than the men can, which is really unfortunate. I'm happy that that's starting to become less and less in today's society with a lot of the changes and everything that we're all going through. And I hope it continues on that way. But, for the most part, it's a lot more of the women being jealous of each other and just competing with each other. It's just been, sort of ridiculous. So I do have empathy for that, because you're right. What is she supposed to do? So she's a gorgeous woman. She's lived her life. She's paid her dues. She was a good wife. She did whatever she did. They're divorced. she's not doing anything wrong. She's not cheating. She's not having an affair. She's living her best life. Let her get
and
out of her business.
it seems like the people like have all their moral standards up in a tizzy based on she looks like this, therefore she must act like this. And I've met a lot of gorgeous people in my life, gorgeous people, and I don't subscribe to the notion that you are a bad person because, let's say, even you get plastic surgery or whatever the case. I never subscribe to that, and I'm gonna tell you why. Who's to say the person that got plastic surgery has bad morals? They might actually have more self-love because they did take the time to do a couple nip and tucks or whatever. But that doesn't, why do you get the right to equate them as being this superficial human being? And again, if you wanted to write her off like maybe some other girls, I won't say that it doesn't happen. You're with the ball player and you kind of use the situation. She was with them for over 20 years. In fact, when she did the first season of Real Housewives of Miami, which I fell in love with her immediately, season 1, episode 1, frame 1, a lot of people were like, oh, she left the show or got fired. I don't know the truth of that. I don't know if it was a firing. I don't think so. Or she left the show. She had stated that, well, Scotty really didn't want me to do the second season. So you see what I'm saying? Just like that, she said while she was married, well, and they were not divorced at the time. He doesn't want me to do it. I'm not going to do it. Like, this is only going to work so long as my family is intact.
Right.
So the notion for people to be, oh, she's this and she's that, and then she's managed to be a good mother. She's managed to, what I love, this is what I love too, Kelly, because you know people do this. Let's say this could be with friends, dating, family even. It's always a bad sign when the person talks bad about that person in front of everybody. In public, she has only talked good about Scottie Pippen. She has never tore him down because that is the father of her 4 kids. I mean, if anything, I think Larsa, because she's so gorgeous, she's probably a lot happier than the rest of us ugly slugs.
Well, and a lot of the times, a lot of that hate and criticism and judgments come from projection. It's people projecting their stuff onto her because there's a lot of envy, there's a lot of jealousy, there's a lot of all these different emotions and all these things that everyone goes through that they don't know how to actually communicate correctly. So it's just easier to talk shit. Like, she has to be this because there's no way that she can be a gorgeous, great wife, great mother, great friend, great person because she can't have all of that. That's not fair. Yeah. And so we have to figure out ways to cut her down in whatever we're doing. And that's just a societal thing. And it's just unfair and it's unfortunate. It's so many women deal with that. And I think that and it probably has something to do with the way that she may carry herself and that, I don't, give a kind of attitude and I live my life and whatever. And that may not always get her the best reactions, but then at the end of the day, like, I don't live for you. So why do I need to worry about how my life is affecting you? You don't have to look at it. Change the channel. Get off my social media. Like, go away.
That's funny because you only know about her. I mean, I don't know if you know about her as much as I always rave about her. But what I rave about her is that she does something that I try to do, but we're all emotional, so sometimes we can't be that strong. One time she was getting interviewed, and she was good friends with the Kardashians for a while. That's another thing. Everyone's always like, "Oh, you're trying to be a Kardashian." I'm like, she's been with Scotty while he was a world champion. She's already been in all the famous circles and knows everybody. The Kardashians, while it was a good experience, I'm sure. Like, she's not stressing over if the Kardashians are as tight. And even that, when people try to ask her about the Kardashians, she never really shits on them, even though there was a bit of a breakup or a divide or whatever you want to call it. She always is like, I don't really like to talk bad about them or anything. I don't like to say anything because, our kids are still friends with their kids and stuff like that. She's just a class act. But she said something once when they asked her about, like, well, did you have any instrumental, where were you involved in, like, the Tristan and Khloe Kardashian situation? She said, now here's this. She said she actually met him first, maybe went on a date. It was actually Khloe who kind of came up behind and latched onto him. And then the interviewer, I can't remember where I saw this, perhaps Hollywood Unlocked, but the interviewer was like, oh, did you feel like, how did you feel? And she said this, and she said this on other interviews too. I mean, it's fine. I don't want to be with anyone who doesn't want to be with me. So if this Tristan Thompson or whatever his name is latched onto her, but really wanted to make his way into the Kardashian world, she didn't stress it. She wasn't that mad. And I remember, like, I've always had that, like, confidence that I've been trying to build within myself that Ronnie, you only want to be where you're welcomed. You don't ever want to be, what's the song by Bonnie Raitt? You can't make somebody, I can't make you love me if you
Oh
don't.
yeah, yeah. I can't make you love me. Yeah.
Which is much easier said than done because
No, it is, but that is a very good place to strive to be, because it does take a lot of self-awareness and self-confidence and self-esteem to be able to say, you know what, it's okay. I might not have been for that person, but I'll be for someone else. And it's, to not let it just kind of destroy you because, oh, why don't they like me, or why,
yeah,
whatever. It's hard, and it's very commendable, and it's awesome for someone to be able to have that kind of reaction. It's like, oh well, what are you gonna do?
yeah. And maybe
Yeah,
that little nonchalantness bothers people because everyone else is really
totally.
stressed and hyped up, and we all are too, because we can't really be that comfortable.
Mhm.
She's got a great life. It is a blessing, and I think with that great life and that blessing kind of has you like, listen, I don't want to be in a place that I'm not really welcomed. um
Yeah.
but where I take the side of like it's BS is where I feel like some oh boy, the straight guys, they're gonna get it today. No, I feel like, and this is something I didn't even think of. I'm more like, yes, Larsa, Housewives of Miami,
Yeah.
that's my vibe. But I didn't realize that some guys looked at this as this. They said, oh shit, or shoot, Michael Jordan really stuck it to Scotty. I'm like, what Michael and Scotty got to do with it? Meaning Michael got the last laugh because her son, or his son, Michael's son, is with Larsa, and that's like a big bro code diss or whatever. See, I could understand the bro code part of it, but they're not friends.
Yeah.
And I could understand even if you wanted to say, Larsa, you really shouldn't be dating, your ex-husband's teammate that he didn't
But
get along. But
who's
but
to
but but
say?
but who's to say? But that's not what I'm. But that's not even it. It's that I've heard straight guys talking about the ego of it's when this situation happens. It's like Michael got the better of Scotty. That to me feels so egotistical. But I've heard it.
Mhm.
I mean, I've heard it. I've seen it online. I've seen a lot of chatter
But
of like,
can't you flip it around and be like, well, Scotty's wife is gonna go like school Michael's kid and teach him how to be like, can't you flip that shit
not in
around?
this not in this heteronormative male society where it's
Know?
like who won and who lost. And I didn't even see it that way. And
Yeah,
maybe I'm
yeah.
overspeaking. Maybe I'm overspeaking. But I
No, but
do
it's like the
think
Romeo Juliet thing, right? With the different families. Like
mm,
you can't go to that side, and nobody in your line can be associated with them because it's a rivalry, and like whatever. Like, just a lot of sports fanatics will be that way. I mean, it's funny because even growing up in Texas, and you've got your football teams and all of that, and it's if you've got a family that's all one team, we all are. Let's say we all go to college, everybody's a UT fan, and then you've got somebody that's dating somebody from OU. Like, F that's not going to work.
yeah.
Like, it's just kind of funny. I mean, and that's like a real trivial way to go about it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just funny that way. So I can see where that thought process comes in. It's just like, come on, get over yourselves, guys. They haven't played basketball in how many years? Those two, Michael and
Yeah.
Scotty, like how many years have they been retired? Like,
If
get
anything,
over
you
it.
could not like it because there's an age gap and maybe that
Mhm.
seems a little funny.
But
But I mean,
why? Again, like he would do, like guys do it all the time.
well, there's another thing. I mean, just the thing is where I really came with this whole story was more about like how they just continuously for years and years and years and years and years have just really tore her apart. Even
Yeah.
within if you're listening audibly on iTunes and now and Spotify and everything. Right now we have a photo of Scotty with a young Larsa Pippen, and she did visibly look a little different. She grew and she really grew up, and maybe had some stuff done or whatever. But even that doesn't bug me. The funny thing is, my confidence is so in check. Like me, Ronnie,
Yeah.
I'm so like my confidence is so in check that somebody who went out of their way to like make themselves beautiful, like or not. She was gorgeous already, but to make little enhancements, what does that have to do with me? Why do I get the luxury of getting to judge that person? And I'm going to tell you, the reason I get mad about it is because, when this podcast really starts moving, you're going to see a sharp jawline. You're going to be like, wow, Ronnie looks like Khloe Kardashian. What happened? And I wanted to be known that I'm as nice and sweethearted and kind now as I will be when I get stuff done to better my look or whatever, just something I want to do for my own thing. If somebody wants to make themselves look a certain way, what does that have to do with you? Now, I understand
Right.
there's a stereotype. There's a lot of really pretty people, guys and girls, and sometimes they don't treat people well. But I don't live in that space as a default, me personally.
Mhm.
I think looks don't necessarily mean you're some like hard person to talk to. I feel like,
Right.
but we do that a little bit. Like, oh, she must not be a good mother because she got her look together. Maybe she wants to also look beautiful, and maybe she is a good mother too. Anyways,
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
it's
maybe it's more for, and sometimes it's okay to want to do something for yourself. You know, she's given her life to her family for however many years, and maybe she's taking some time for herself now. And I just don't understand why everybody feels they need to be up in somebody else's bedroom. Why?
yeah.
Who
Well,
cares?
this is what I loved about, and we'll wrap now. I loved
Mhm,
about this, Michael Jordan's son situation.
mhm,
They've been in her business, and yes, she was with Future for a little bit, and yes, she might have been with this one and that one, but she's also a single woman. Um,
mhm.
it's almost like they've always been in her business, no matter what she did. So
Right.
fine, you know what? You want something to talk about? Here we go.
Here you
And she's
go.
going to be the star of Real Housewives of Miami, like she was last year. And Ronnie has always been a fan. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. That's why we did the episode titled Bros from the Billy Eichner
Mhm,
movie and Babes, because it really is somewhat with women too, women to women judgment, or even
mhm.
guys to women judgment. It's really a sick thing that how we treat women sometimes, or we just assume, she looks and dresses like this. We make all the assumptions. Why
Oh,
do
for
we do
sure.
that? Larsa's
Those double
gorgeous,
standards. Those
and she
double standards.
and she is a babe. But I'll
Yeah,
tell
she
you right
is.
now, if she ever did our podcast, she'd be like, "Oh, girl, Kelly, what's up?" Oh, hi, Ronnie. Like, she would love us because we read as authentic people. So if you're not authentic, that's when all that superficial shit is a
Oh,
projection.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. Absolutely. And I think, get it, girl. Live your best life. Continue to do so. Do as you please because no one lives your life but you. So live the best life you can. Everyone should. Stay out of
yeah.
my bedroom.
As we wrap up, I'm going to encourage everyone to go on over to my podcast, Randomly with Ronnie Jr., Pop Culture POV. Let's shine a light on it.com. There's so many podcasts that I'm doing outside of difficultpodcasters.com with the gorgeous Kelly, and it's a lot of fun. So if you get a chance to look at all the other ones and support them in any way, a comment or a like or a share, that's actually really good for me. And yeah, we're one step closer to succeeding in this crazy and difficult podcast world. Last words, and then we'll head out of here.
Yeah, so everyone, so the moral of this podcast today is to support each other. Don't talk shit. Stay out of everyone else's bedroom. Mind your business. Go see Bros, and don't worry, darling, and have fun at the movies. And let's just all support each other.
The moral of the podcast. We have morals.
We have a moral today. Today we have morals. It might be the only time I ever say that. So
Yeah. All right. I'm with it. Kelly says jump. I say how I. This was a show. I gotta go.
Ronnie
Bye.
was very emotional, everyone. So
I
take it
was.
in. It was
I was.
fantastic.
As much as I'm a dickhead usually, or like I could be a little grumpy. When I
I
get
love that you went
emotional,
so lovey today.
I was like, no, I was really like,
I love it. I
I was
love
feeling
it.
the
But
feels,
it is
y'all.
important. All the feels are good to feel. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to feel the feels. So see,
See,
we have morals today.
you never know what you're gonna get on this podcast. All right, Kelly, thank you so much for your work, and we are out of here. Bye.